Hi everyone, I'm Louise from Aviate Labs, and today I'm really excited to present to you Node Monitor, a platform that we've built to simplify node management. Running nodes on ICP can be complex when issues arise. Docs are scattered, there's no standard flow for troubleshooting issues, there's not really any place where there are shared best practices, nor are there any dedicated support channels. Essentially, when an issue arises, you can spend hours trying to piece things together, and that's just time that most node providers don't have. For some, being an ICP node provider isn't a full-time occupation. In fact, running the nodes could take place alongside other businesses or work. With that said, some node providers don't necessarily have the time to optimize every script or config, nor build their own monitoring tools when new utilities become available. Until now, that's been fine, because rewards have been fixed. But with performance-based rewards just around the corner, that means uptime, metrics, and responsiveness will matter a lot. Without the right tools, even the most well-intentioned node providers risk penalties for things that could have been totally avoided in the first place. For new entities interested in becoming a node provider, seeing this complexity combined with a lack of support could be a deterrent. The impact of this is that without accessible tooling, we could see that growth could stall before it even starts. That's why simplifying node management matters. Node Monitor is our first attempt at tackling this problem head-on. Over the past year, we've worked with various node providers, listening to their pain points and shaping the product around their feedback. The goal of this first release was to create a platform that helps node providers navigate this transition to performance-based rewards with visibility, context, and control. The first set of features that Node Monitor will launch with and that I will demo today helps to enable exactly that. Feature one is alerts, and you get two types. The first is an alert as soon as your node goes down. The second is a daily performance alert that tells you how your node actually performed and how that impacted your rewards. With these alerts, you no longer just get uptime information, you also get insights into your performance and how that affects your rewards. The second feature is the set of charts and tables that are available in the Node Monitor platform. This allows you to dive deeper. You can check if your issue was an anomaly, or if it's been recurring for days, or if perhaps other nodes in the subnet that your node is in is also experiencing a similar issue. In short, it gives you the context that you need. Finally, the platform enables you to prevent incurring further penalties. If you see your node is struggling, you can remove it from a subnet directly within the platform using the built-in proposal editor. This helps you avoid further penalties while you are still troubleshooting issues with your node. No more scripts, searching through docs on how to use command line tools. You just get the control where you need it. Before going into the demo, let's take a brief look at the architecture. We've kept it simple. The platform has a front end, back end, and a database. The front end queries the node rewards canister, which is hosted directly on chain. It queries the data and processes it and feeds it into the various visualizations that you see in the front end. The backend handles everything around alerting and utility. That includes the email alerts based off uptime, as well as trustworthy node metrics. And then it also handles everything from authentication and subscriptions for those that decided to use the hosted version. The database is what stores all the user data and settings. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the demo. When a node provider subscribes, they get a personalized dashboard. In this first section, you can see an overview of the node provider's assets. On the right, you can see the reward statistics. There are two tabs here, so you can see your reward stats from the previous rewarding period, and also how you're performing in the current reward period. Scrolling down, we see a daily failure rate graph that shows the nodes with the top 3 highest failure rate per day. And just below that, we see nodes divided into the data centers they're in, so that you can clearly see where your nodes are, how many are in a subnet, how many are idle, and how many need your attention. Now, before we dive into that, let's simulate the behavior as if the node provider got an alert. For that, we'll need to configure alerts. Here you see two types of alerts. Trustworthy node metrics. This tells you the block performance of your nodes. And then the public dashboard API-based alerts. This tells you the uptime. For this demo, let's go ahead and configure the trustworthy node metrics-based alerts, because that tells us if we lose rewards or not. So I'm going to go ahead and select my email here, turn it on, so that I can receive this daily alert. I will also activate the subsections so that the email includes information about nodes receiving penalties, nodes that are close to the penalties threshold, and also nodes that are fully healthy. You can scroll down and save the changes. And once those changes are saved, you can test the alert to see if everything was configured correctly. As you can see, the test alert was sent successfully. Let's hop over to our inbox. I just got an email from Node Monitor. Let's look into it. The stats in this daily email report are from the last full day where trustworthy node metrics were collected. The date here shows when the report was generated. You can see in the daily summary, you get an overview of your total nodes, the number that was penalized in that last day, the number assigned to subnets, your reward attainment, so if you achieved the maximum you could. Then it also shares the amount of XDR lost that day, as well as the number of ICP lost. To be clear, the ICP lost is purely an estimate, just because to get this number, the spot rate of that day was used. But as you know, at the time of minting, a different exchange rate between XDR and ICPs could be used. If we scroll down, we can see a breakdown of the nodes, which ones were receiving penalties and which were healthy. Seems like almost all of this node provider's nodes were healthy, with just one receiving penalties. Let's dive into this. By clicking View Details, we are taken directly to the node's detail page. On this page, you can see, again, the last reward metrics, block statistics, which shows the block production of the nodes, the reward reduction chart that shows how the failure rate translates to reward reduction, and then the rewards received chart that shows how much rewards you actually received compared to the theoretical maximum you could have received. By hovering over one of these charts, you can see the statistics involved for that day, and the tooltip activates across all the other charts so that you can see how the stats relate to each other. Now, as a node provider, looking at this, I can see that on 2 days, I received full rewards, while for the rest, it seems the performance was suboptimal. This is quite concerning. Now, I'm curious to know if other nodes in the subnet also experienced the same, or if this issue is just isolated to me. Going back to my dashboard and checking the most recent day, I can see that the failure rate of this node was extremely high. I can also check that by seeing the nodes grouped by data center and clicking into this red hexagon for that node. We want to compare with nodes in the same subnet as this node, so let's go ahead and click on the subnet ID. Now we are on the subnet that this node is in. Just for reference, you would also be able to see all the other subnets where your node is present, as well as its failure rates. It's sorted so that the node with the highest failure rate appears at the top of the list. Now looking at the nodes in the subnet, we can see that this is our node indicated by this icon. And if we click a drop down, we can see how the node's failure rates in black compares to the subnet's failure rates in yellow. As you can see, in the past 30 days, it seems like our node has persistently had higher failure rates than the subnets. Now I wonder if other nodes exhibit this behavior as well. Let's take a look at the node with the next highest failure rates. Here we see that towards the end of September, this node exhibited a high failure rate. But in the past couple of weeks, the failure rate has not been that high, at least compared to how high our node's failure rate is compared to the subnet. Based off this, it becomes pretty clear that the issue is isolated to our node. Seeing that this issue has been going on for some time, it might be a good idea to remove this node from a subnet. Now we can do that in the platform by creating a proposal, specifically a change subnet membership proposal. As with every proposal, a title is needed. We'll also need a forum URL to make sure that the community knows where the discussion about this proposal is happening. And as with proposals, the summary needs to include detailed information as to the motivation of this proposal. For demo purposes, I've taken the summary from a previous subnet change membership proposal. Now we get to the payload. Since our node has, and we can easily identify that it is our node that we want to remove here. So let's go ahead and check that. Now, when removing a node, we also need to suggest a node as a replacement. In Node Monitor, you have three options for that. The first tab is the suggested nodes. These are the healthy and unassigned nodes that you own as a node provider and is located in the same data center. Topology-wise, such a swap means no change for target topology and no change in the decentralization stats. There are other options too. You can also select from your other nodes that includes other data centers as well as just other nodes entirely in the network. Now do note, if you suggest for a node swap in another data center, there will be additional consideration required from the community. Let's go ahead and click one of the nodes in the suggested tab. Now that all the details are there, let's continue. To be able to submit a proposal, you need to have a neuron with at least 25 ICP staked for 6 months. Let's log in with our internet identity to be able to connect our neuron to this platform. Now that I've logged in, I'll need to authorize this application to be able to submit proposals on behalf of my neuron. In Node Monitor, we do this by providing you with a principal that you can add to your neuron as a hotkey. Now I've already done this, so all I will do is paste my neuron ID here and click continue. Now I simply review the proposal details to make sure everything is correct, and then go ahead and click submit. Now, you can see that a neuron must have at least 25 ICP, and for me, I don't have that amount. With the correct amount of ICP, this proposal would have gone live. It's a good thing this proposal didn't go live, as it would have likely been rejected because of all the pseudo data that I have included. And that concludes the demo. Let's hop over to the slides again. After seeing the demo, you may think that Node Monitor only makes things more convenient for node providers. Yes, that is the primary goal. However, indirectly, Node Monitor plays a role in helping the IC scale. If we look at the network today, we have on average 14 nodes per node provider. Now, ICP has the potential to become the world computer, but to do that, it needs to operate at world computer scale. If we take one cloud company as a benchmark, say Amazon Web Services, and take the most conservative estimate that could be found online about the number of servers they run, we find that they run roughly 150,000 nodes. At the same average, that would mean we need 10,000 node providers to match that capacity. That's 100 times more than we currently have. Putting financials aside, just because that is also a barrier to entry, one of the main frictions in becoming a node provider is the technical and operational hurdle. That's where Node Monitor comes in. I'm not saying that it's a silver bullet and that every node provider going on ICP will use it, but it can definitely function as a catalyst, lowering the barrier to entry and making node operations more approachable. Again, not every node provider will use it, but the ones who might have walked away due to the perceived complexity in the operations now have a path in. Overall, the easier it is to onboard and operate nodes on ICP, the more diverse and scalable the IC's node infrastructure becomes. And that's not just better for node providers, it's better for the entire ecosystem. What you saw today was just the beginning. It's definitely not the full solution, but it's our first step in building an all-in-one tool suite for node providers. The vision is that Node Monitor becomes the platform that is able to support node providers throughout their entire lifecycle on ICP, from onboarding, operations, all the way through to governance. And this is our roadmap to do that. Phase one is about improving the reliability of the platform. That means focusing on stability as well as polish. Right now, the core features work. That's what we saw in the demo, but it's still rough around the edges. And we want to work closely with the community to make the next round of optimizations. On top of that, in the next 3 months, we plan to support features like faster node swaps, as well as add an alert type, which is a monthly performance and rewards report that is delivered to every subscriber at the time of a Mint event. Phase two is about observability. Node Monitor at the moment tells you when your node goes down and how much your rewards were impacted by that. However, it doesn't tell you why, and that really limits your ability to get to the root cause. In this phase, we plan to integrate hardware-level metrics so that you can pinpoint poor performance directly to failing components. With phase one and two complete, Node Monitor should give you everything you need to see what's going on with your nodes. The next step is to enable node providers to act directly within the platform. We want node providers to be able to perform first-level troubleshooting, from reboots and redeployments, all with a click of a button without having to call the data center or even go there. All of this, of course, enabled through secure and decentralized methods. Finally, being a node provider isn't just about node operations. In this phase, Node Monitor will evolve to support the entire node provider journey, from onboarding to wallet solutions that simplify receiving rewards as well as paying them out to cover operational expenses, as well as surfacing critical NNS motions that could affect your node operations. All of that's in the same place where node providers monitor their infrastructure. So there you have it. As you can see, we are just getting started. If you've made it this far, thanks a lot for your time and attention. Node Monitor is live. Try it today and let us know what you think. Thanks. Take care.